What's up, everyone? Welcome back to AusHoopers TV Fiery Fridays. We are back as the FIBA World Cup is kicking off. We obviously started up our weekly drop this week as well, so go check that out if you haven't already. Remember, we are posting snippets on our YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram, so go follow us on at AusHoopers TV if you don't follow us already. Bailey, how you been?
Yeah, pretty good. Pretty slow off season of basketball. Obviously, the World Cup starts. When's the first actual game?
Tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
Yeah.
So that'll be good. And obviously, yeah, the NBA. There hasn't been too many trades, but I'll touch on in my question of the week one that I'm pretty interested in your thoughts about.
For sure. Yeah, FIBA World Cup starts tomorrow. The Boomers play Finland and Lauri Markkanen at 6 p.m. Australian Standard Time. We've had 5 preparation games. We went 4-1. We obviously had that tough loss against Brazil, but I'm sure if we played them again, it'd be a different result. So it's going to be interesting. We have Germany, who've been playing really well on Sunday. Dennis Schroeder and the Wagner brothers. So I'm not sure if they're brothers, but the Wagner boys. So it should be a tough game. Boomers have been playing a little bit iffy, but we'll see how they go. So the first question is Boomers related, and it's a bit of a tough one. We're going to have to break it down, but where do the Boomers place in this FIBA World Cup?
Well, when you look at it, is this probably the strongest team we've had in a pretty long time?
Probably, I'd say so, yeah.
And you think USA is probably one of the weakest they've had in a very long time. So, I mean, this is our chance to take the top. So, whether you can, I mean, on talent alone, no, we're not we're not more talented than the USA team. But, I mean, we've got the Aussie spirit. So, I'd literally one or two. I would love to see us go against the USA in the final. I think we'd actually give them a run for their money. Now, the thing for me is like because they're not as, big name USA players, and obviously you still got Ant Edwards and all that kind of stuff. But I feel like they're going to try and prove something as well. So they're going to be coming out, guns blazing every week. So it makes it probably a bit harder in a way to win it. But on talent alone, like this is the closest we've probably ever been to the USA.
Yeah. It's hard to go against the Aussies. I'm gonna say that we are gonna take it out. But if I'm a betting man, I wouldn't put my money against the US. They are a really good team, but I do definitely think we can beat them.
Yeah.
Our defense is incredible. Most of our guys are used to playing in the FIBA rules and the smaller court. And the US guys, the thing that's kind of surprising me, I feel like with that KD team that we beat them with in Melbourne a few years back in one of the exhibition games, the team, they struggled to kind of adapt to the smaller court and the FIBA rules. This current team they have now with the young guys with Ant, Paolo, and Ingram, they've kind of adapted to it pretty quickly.
Yeah.
And they're blowing teams out the ballpark and they're looking really good doing it. So a little bit scary. Ant is looking like a real threat. Ingram, not so much, but you know what Ingram does. He's a Kmart Kevin Durant. So
Yeah.
Paolo Banchero off the bench. Jalen Brunson is a real problem as well. I think he had about 27 the other day on 100% shooting, which is ridiculous. He's in for a big season as well. So the USA team is very stacked, but I think we can do it. Jock Landau going down doesn't help. CG 43 tweaked his knee, and Josh Green tweaked his ankle as well, but they're both back for the first game tomorrow night. So we'll see how we go. Jock Landau dropping doesn't help our size at the bigs. But you've got teams like Spain. Ricky Rubio obviously dropped out. Talent-wise, I still think we're much better than them. Germany looked really good against US. I think they were up 16 at one point, and they blew the lead. So Germany's a problem. They're in our pool, and we play them Sunday. So that'll be a really good test for us as a team. And then you've obviously got France and even teams like Slovenia with Luka Doncic and Dominican Republic with Kat, Al Horford, and Duarte. I'm sure I miss Canada with Shea and Brooks and Lou Dort. But still, I think our talent and our defense is just too much for those teams. The France team was ranked above us in the recent power rankings, but I think we just beat them. We started off terribly. Josh Green went down in the first quarter, didn't come back. Patty Mills shot 4 for 14. Giddy shot 4 for 14. Patty Mills shot 3 for 16. And we still beat them. So I'm not sure how that power ranking works out, because once we get Josh Green back, Chris Goulding's back for a little bit of shooting, which will help. I think, and Patty gets out of his slump, I think we'll win pretty comfortably against France. So I'm going to say first, but it wouldn't surprise me if USA ended up getting the dub.
Yeah.
But I'm right behind Australia. I'm sure the rest of the listeners are as well. So I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to tomorrow night's game. Lauri Markkanen hopefully doesn't, blitz us for 30. But I'm not too worried. They've been pretty disappointing in the pre-warm-up games. I think they lost to Latvia without Porzingis by like 40. Lauri didn't play, but it's a little bit of a bad result for them. So we'll get into question number 2. Who is the biggest X factor throughout the whole FIBA competition? This can be a team, this can be a particular player. Who is gonna, shine? I think last competition, Lauri Markkanen played really well for Finland, and then he came back to the NBA and put up really, really good numbers for the Jazz. So who's someone that you want to see stand out in this competition?
Well, maybe not so much standout, but I think a big X factor is Luka. Like, we saw what he could do with a pretty average Mavericks. What's to say he can't do the same with his country? Like, now the chances are probably a little bit slimmer, but I wouldn't be surprised if he comes out and they just start winning and winning and winning, just running the ball through him, shooters around him, and all of a sudden, he's got a team that can adapt and play around him. So he's got to be the X factor for a guy who I think by himself with the country probably is most suited in the whole competition. I'd say, like, he could probably do the most with a bad team.
Yeah. I'm going to go Karl Towns for Dominican Republic. I think he's going to be a problem. And, you look across the board, the only sort of big man that sort of matches up with him would have been Jokic, but he's not playing for Serbia. And Embiid's not playing. So he's the best big man in this competition by a landslide. Like, USA have Jaren Jackson. I know he's the decoy, but he's not really, I don't think, on Karl Towns' level. He might be able to hold him to some extent, but I'm taking Karl Towns in that matchup. You got Lauri, but he's more of a forward, can slide to the 3. The only other big man I can think of is Jonas Valanciunas for Lithuania. That sounds right. But other than that, I don't think anyone's going to be able to keep up with Cat. I mean, Canada doesn't really have a big. I think they're running Olynyk at the 5. Australia only has Duop at the moment. We have no backup big. France has Rudy Gobert. That might be a little bit of a problem. Forgot about him. But Spain, they have Hernan Gomez. But Karl Towns should have a field day in this competition. He's got Al Horford at the 4 as well. So we'll see how he goes. I think he might put up a few 30, 40 bombs. Another one is Jalen Brunson for USA. I think he might be their best player in some games. He's going to be a real problem for Australia, especially when we have Patty starting. Patty's not the greatest defender. So, Jalen Brunson for me is going to be a real standout. I'm excited to see how he goes. And I think he will put USA on his back for most parts. And I think he will have the ball in his hands late in game. He does start. They run Brunson, Mikal Bridges, Ant, Ingram, and Jaren.
Yeah. Okay.
They bring Ben Caro off the bench.
Yeah.
So Brunson, they start him over Halliburton.
Yeah.
We'll get into question number 3. Who is a young player? You might need to do a little bit of research on this one. Who's a young player that you're excited to see in the NBL next season? I'll start off with mine. We've got players like Alexandre Sarr, who's from France. You got Ben Henschel out of WA. You got Taron Armstrong, who's doing his first pro season. You got Ariel Hukporti coming back off injury. You got Rocco Zakarski, the 7'3", 16-year-old. You got Alex Tui out of ACT. He's playing for the Sydney Kings. And then you've got, obviously, your Bawali Bales. You got your Jalen Galloways. You've got your Bobby Klintman, who was meant to be in the draft this year. You got Claris, who's the Sydney Kings young guy. And it's going to be a good season for the young athletes in the NBL. Um, my obviously it's hard to pick. You got a bunch of young guys that have filmed, so it's hard to pick one. But one guy I would say I'm excited for is AJ Johnson out of Illawarra. I've heard really good things about him. Um, and I think he was ranked 16th on a big board. He looks athletic. He looks like he can shoot, and the Illawarra Hawks have a good team for him to kind of slot in and play a big role for them. Um, Preseason blitz will be a good show for them. But who's kind of catching your eye?
I'll be honest, this is definitely your territory. I've got zero clue who the up and comers. I'm not even going to pretend like I've got anything for you here. Whatever you say is probably the most accurate we're going to get, because
Yeah,
I wouldn't be able to tell you from a bar aside. I don't watch enough NBL one or NBL in general. Sorry.
yeah, fair enough. What about Taron Armstrong?
Yeah, I remember I've watched him back in under 18s nationals.
Yeah, 20s.
Yeah, 20s.
Yeah,
Yeah, great with the ball, great passer. Pretty keen to see him. I have heard of Rocco. He's a big, isn't he?
yeah, 7 foot
Yeah, I've
three.
seen a few highlights of him. He looks promising as well. So they're two names that I've already heard of, and yeah, definitely keen to see Taron, because I think he can be pretty deadly.
Yeah, Alex Tui as well. Aussie guy seems to be the next one in line to make the league. He was meant to be at Gonzaga next year, but yeah, he looks like he might start for the Sydney Kings, and he's a lengthy forward. So
I've heard of him too. I don't know
yeah,
if I probably would have seen his highlights. I just wouldn't have known.
yeah, yeah, really good forward. Different to everyone else that's kind of come through. I feel like he kind of plays the four a little bit and can shoot. So he's fast with the ball as well. So it's going to be good season for the young guys coming through in the NBL. NBA off season, like you said, not many changes. There's been a few big ones though. Who is the best pickup of the NBA off season?
I love the Chris Paul pickup.
Okay,
I think
it's
it's
a different one.
amazing. I think it's amazing for Golden State. Now, I remember we did a little bit of a talk about it when it happened. Now, I thought he was coming off the bench. You reckon he was starting? I still don't know what they're going to do there. I think either way, it's just better for the team.
Yeah,
Um, like I'm just thinking about them now. They'd be, Steph and Chris Paul would just be working everything out. They'd be showing each other new things and just improving each other. And obviously, Chris Paul going into whatever age he is now, probably like needs a team like this where they all can kind of drop their workload and just work off each other. But you can't tell me that team doesn't look like it's going to be a well-oiled machine next year. Like it just will move so smoothly together. You got some of the best minds in Chris Paul and Steve Kerr, plus one of the most talented players we've ever seen in Steph, and one of the greatest shooters in Klay Thompson. So that's just it's gonna be amazing to see. I reckon we'll see. We thought probably that the Warriors' ball movement and how they played was a new kind of thing, and I think we'll see an elevated level next time or next season in.
I reckon the best pickup this season has been from my Wizards. I think the Kristaps Porzingis to the Boston Celtics. I think that was a very overlooked trade. A lot of it was, they got rid of Smart, the heart of the team. But at the end of the day, I think they got a all-star big in Kristaps Porzingis that can spread the floor and drop 25 on any given night. He's a rim protector, could definitely win depoy for the Celtics if they come, first or second in the East. But he's another threat on the court, which I feel like Marcus Smart was great in some games. Don't get me wrong, he looked like a top 10 point guard sometimes, but I just think and he brought heart to the team, but Kristaps Porzingis is a different level. It gives Malcolm Brogdon and Derek White a little bit more wiggle room at the point guard. There was three of them fighting for that spot. And I kind of like Derek White played really good in the postseason last year, and Brogdon as a sixth man now. It should be good, but Kristaps Porzingis brings a different sort of feel to the Celtics, and I think this will get them over the line. I've been saying that for a few years now that the Celtics are going to get over the line, but I think Kristaps Porzingis for Marcus Smart, really good trade for them. And he's just another scorer that kind of takes the attention off Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum a little bit, but really good pickup for them. In Australian players, I really like Dante Exum getting signed by the Mavericks. Underrated pickup. He's playing really well for the Boomers so far. I think he might come off the bench for them at the guard. I know they were lacking a bit of guard power last year, but the Mavericks little bit iffy. I know you're not a big fan of how they're running things at the moment, They
No.
did pick up Grant Williams. I thought they had a pretty good offseason, the Mavericks. But we'll see how they go running it back with Kyrie and Luka. What do you reckon?
I don't understand it. Um, like I've when they re-signed him, it just like how can you not let your two star players play in the playoffs because it's not working out, and then not play any basketball together and go, oh, actually, we'll try it again. Like it just blows my mind. Don't get it. Don't know how it works. But as for your pick of Porzingis, I reckon it's a great ordeal. Yeah, I thought at the start it was the best for the Grizzlies, but
Mm,
I've started to come around because Smart went to the Grizzlies, right? Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, I've started to come around to Celtics have done well there too.
makes sense for the Grizzlies though. They only got rid of Smart and a few picks, but they get sorry, they got rid of Tyus Jones and a few picks. But Marcus Smart is definitely a starter in this league, and Jar's out for that 30-game suspension at the start of the season, so Marcus Smart has that starting role for 30 games, and then I'm sure he can ease his way off
Yeah.
the bench, or they slide Bane to the three. I know they don't have Brooks anymore, so maybe they slide Bane to the three. I think he's a little bit undersized, but maybe that can work, and then they move Smart to the two.
Is that how I thought that's how they were going to run it or
Yeah,
not?
potentially, unless
Okay.
they keep running Zaire Williams at the three. I'm not too
Yeah.
sure how they're going to do it,
Yeah.
but we'll see how they go. We'll get into questions of the week. I'll hit you with mine first. My question of the week is, who is the best player that is currently not in the NBA?
Wow. This would have been good to look up like a few. Is there any names you could spitball off the top of your head?
So in the conversation, I think, is Isaiah Thomas,
Yep.
Kemba Walker,
Yep.
got John Wall, you
Yeah.
got DeMarcus Cousins, you got
Yeah.
Dwight Howard.
Yeah.
Uh, that's off the top of my head that I can think
Yeah.
about
You
at the moment.
probably got to go. Yeah, because yeah, I guess you're going John Wall or DeMarcus Cousins, maybe Kemba. I feel like Kemba's a bit younger though, isn't he? He's a bit younger than them.
Yeah,
Yeah, so that probably boosts his points up. Between those three, I mean, DeMarcus Cousins has to be the quickest fall off from the best in your position to out, like to no good I've ever seen. Like he was the best center in the league by a country mile at one stage. Like he was like a 30 and 12 a game.
yeah,
And then gets injured. Yeah, understand. Maybe you don't come back as good, but then you're literally struggling to get a roster spot within that next season. So at his best, I mean, at their best, John Wall was probably the best. And I mean, DeMarcus Cousins was the best in his position. I'd probably say DeMarcus was the best out of all of them. So probably him.
yeah,
But you've obviously got Kemba Walker, who is younger, and you've got John Wall, who's probably went from once again a top 5 point guard to out of the league, but he's had that next crack at a starting position and probably got a fair shot but didn't play to his potential.
yeah,
So yeah, DeMarcus Cousins, John Wall, Kemba in that order.
yeah. I'd probably say Kemba. I mean, it's hard. Obviously, I want to say John Wall, but he's starting to slow down. Anyone can see that, and his defense is a little bit. It's like he's not really putting in the effort like he used to. I think he used to lead the league in point guard blocks. But yeah, the injuries have caught up to him a little bit. Boogie Cousins, I feel like if you put him on the Wizards, he's going to put up 20 a game, no doubt about it. But yeah, it's hard to say. Probably DeMarcus. I mean, he was
Yeah,
probably the most skilled when they were all at the top of their game.
yeah.
But yeah, he was pretty good, DeMarcus Cousins. So I
I
don't know what
say,
happened to him. Maybe it was all the tech fouls and the league kind of got sick of him. They kind of tried to block him out. I don't know what it was, but what can you do?
I mean Isaiah Thomas too though, like
Yeah,
goes from
top
like
five MVP.
to
Yeah,
just see you later from a little, no, maybe not a little, probably just from a hip injury, but it was just like, nah, no one like goes from almost getting his max contract
yeah.
to nah, you
Well,
can't even find a spot on the
that would have
yeah,
been the team. That team would have just been molded around him, and he would have just been playing so well with those guys.
yeah,
And you move, and it's just hard. You're in a different defense, you're in a different offense. It's just not working around you. We
Yeah.
just don't look as good. So
Yeah.
I don't know if that's the Celtics' fault. They went for Kyrie and Kyrie Hayward, JB Tatum, our Horford team.
Yeah.
Didn't work.
No.
So yeah, I'd say DeMarcus Cousins.
Yeah.
All right, let's hear your question of the week.
What do the Philadelphia 76ers do with James Harden after he's come out and said all this stuff about he'll never play for Daryl Morey again?
It's tough. I mean, after he said that, me personally, I'd look to get rid of him as soon as I can. I don't want him. If I'm a Sixers GM, I don't want him in the locker room. I don't know. I just feel like it's bad. It's a bad sort of vibe to bring him in after he's, spreading stuff like that out to the public. I don't know the extent of, how he's talking to Daryl Morey or what Daryl Morey did for him to say that. Or if he's been wanting a trade for a while and he just haven't given it to Harden. I'm not too sure. Maybe Harden's fed up with how Philly's playing. I think a little bit that chips into it is that Harden kind of has not fallen off, but for kind of like being disrespected on how good he is. He used to be like he's the second MVP runner for about 3 years in a row.
Yeah.
And now people don't even consider him a top 5 point guard sort of thing.
Yeah.
Which he's still averaging 11 assists a game on 20 points a game, which is crazy to do with, the one of the MVP, Joel Embiid at the big, to still average 22 behind him. It's pretty good. So what I would do, I'd probably get rid of him. I mean, if he doesn't want to be there, there's no point in keeping him. And you haven't really done anything or gone anywhere with him. So I'm sure while he's still averaging this and, on a team by himself, I think a lot of teams would still want James Harden at the moment. So if you can give him to the Rockets for a few picks, I'm sure they've got about 60.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be a bad trade, but Philly just need to redo it. I don't know what they need to do. I do think they keep Embiid, I guess, and just kind of build the team around him without another. You do need a closer, though. That's the thing. I just don't know how to build it around Embiid. So I would trade him. I don't think you run it back with him after what he said.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm not sure what for and who for.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree. Get rid of him. You can't just have, how do you walk in and try to start the season fresh? And it's so easy for these NBA players when they actually want to trade. Like, I don't know. I don't know what it was like back in the old day, but now it's so simple. They just go in there and go, all right, like, get rid of me. And if they go like, no, like, let's try work it out, they'll just say something that pretty much gets them gone. And it sounds like to him as well, like he doesn't even care where he goes. It's not like he had a no trade clause where you get to kind of pick and choose. It's kind of like, nah, just get me out of here. I'll make it myself.
Yeah. I still think there's something wrong with when people ask for a trade. They can sort of pick where they want to go and if they want to go. So like, I don't think that's right. I think you look for your team looks for the best deal. And if you like it, you take it and send them wherever they go because they're still getting paid $25 million to play. You know what I mean? So
yeah, it's weird that too.
I don't think they get a choice to pick out of 2 teams. It's like the Wizards got hit with this. I know Bradley Beal had no trade clause, but they're not going to send like Porzingis to the Magic, right?
Yeah.
So and then Philly aren't going to send Harden to Detroit. Like it's just not going to happen. He's either going to the Clippers or he's going back to Houston where he wants to go, or he's going to I don't know LA, Lakers, or the Knicks. That's the only places he's going to go. So I don't know how they do that.
Yeah, it's a good point because like all the GMs always come out and they'll say like, oh, like we're doing what's best for the team. We're only trading him to where we can get the most for, and somehow they always end up on a good team.
Yeah.
And then you get someone like Lillard who's actually been so loyal to them the whole time. And like the Portland Trailblazers managers come out and said like, no, dead set, we will not trade him anywhere unless we get like a shit ton back for him. It's crazy. Like all these other players like KD, it's like, oh, I want to go to the Suns. Bang, he's there within like 2 days. With no trade clause or nothing.
Yeah.
And then who else is like that? Kyrie just goes, oh yeah, move me here, bang, done. After he does nothing for the organization. It's weird how they have so much pull in that league.
Well, the Portland thing is that how it should be done. I mean, if Damian Lillard wants to leave, he doesn't have I think he doesn't have a trade clause.
No, he
So
doesn't.
so he doesn't have a choice, really.
Yeah,
But I mean, they can come out and say we're going to move him where he wants to go because he's been with us for 11
yeah,
years and he tried his best and it's not his fault. But it is time for him to do what's best for him. Fair enough in that instance, but in my opinion, still, if you're not getting anything great in return for Damian Lillard, where you can get 6 picks elsewhere, I mean that's just business, and that's the way it's going to go. And you
yeah.
got to move in where you're going to get the best outcome. So
Agreed.
that's how I take it. Anyway,
They
we'll
get
wrap
it.
it up. Oh, keep
They
going.
get enough to suck that up. Like they
Yeah,
get enough money to suck it up.
100%. Anyway, we'll wrap it up there. The FIBA games start tomorrow night. We might be doing breakdowns after the games, but we'll see how we go. Finland against the Boomers tomorrow night at 6 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time. So make sure you tune in. We appreciate you guys listening. There'll be snippets out on our socials, and we'll catch you next week.